I am of the opinion that Donald Trump is slowly is the wrong word now is quickly destroying the Republican Party, and I love it. Like I do. Like he is tanking their GOP. He's destroying evangelical Christianity. Like stuff that we've worked for years. Like Donald Trump is getting it done in less than a decade. So hats off to the Donald for that. But
the history's greatest psyop. He's taking down the Republican Party.
So do you remember back in 2015? It's the just world fallacy. It is the cognitive bias that assumes that actions always yield fair and just consequences. It's true. I just don't know how anybody can believe that. Like I don't know how anyone is that childlike and naive to believe that. And the reason I brought up Trump was because, well, actually, I'll go back to the wealth thing later. But do you remember in 2015 when people were saying that, like before Trump actually caught fire, when he was just some random guy in the field and all the Republicans were shitting on him, calling him a clown, calling him stupid, calling him a moron.
When he came down the golden escalators like the clown he is.
Exactly, yeah. A lot of Republicans were saying, hey, listen, because Trump was always like Democrat adjacent. You know, you wouldn't call him like an active member of the Democratic Party, but he was never this hardcore.
He's just a wealthy elite. He has no political allegiance.
Exactly, yeah. He said that actually too. He's like, I donated to both parties and everything. Whoever would, grease my palms, I was in. So a lot of them would say, I think Donald Trump is a plant by the Democratic Party to destroy the Republicans. All of them were saying that in 2015. Now they all love him. Ironically, they're kind of right. Like, I don't think he was a plant, but the result has been the same. Like, he's actually taking the party down quicker than any of us ever could. And the wealth thing, this is also why Trump won, because Trump, if your whole life is built on, like what Evan mentioned, this just world fallacy, that some people get screwed over. It's not fair for everybody, but as a general rule, if you work hard, you follow the rules, you're going to be all right. You're going to be fine. You may not be rich, you may not be wealthy, but you'll be well off. You'll be comfortable. You'll take care of yourself as long as you follow the rules. Then, once again, you follow all the rules and you do really well, you get rich. So if someone is richer than you, they are better than you. Like, that's the entire philosophy right there. Yep. Donald Trump is the richest person on that stage. Why wouldn't you vote for the best person when you are, these 15 people, sure, they're a bunch of egghead politicians. Donald Trump, he worked his way into all this money. Now, forget about how he was born with a ton of it. Yeah, well, forget about that. But I mean, it makes perfect sense that they would gravitate towards someone like Trump or Elon Musk because they're rich, so they must be doing it right.
Yeah, that's essentially what it boils down to. It's modern day monarchism is really what it is.
It is. And a lot of them actually say it like that's like, oh yeah, like we would love if Trump was like. It's so weird too. Can you imagine literally any politician in the last, like in American history, 240 years, whatever, saying, I'll be a dictator for a day. Like anybody saying that and not being evaporated off the political scene. Oh, but Trump says it and no problem at all. Nothing. Just as many fans as the day before.
Oh, he said it as a joke. I don't know why you're taking it so seriously. It was a joke.
Yeah. Hilarious.
It was a joke.
Absolutely, it's a side-splitting shit from the Donald. So yeah, that's always been fascinating.
You liberals, you take everything so seriously.
All right, put it right there. So speaking of Donald Trump, I wanted to go over something too. I didn't mean to go over Trump that early, but with Donald Trump's his court cases, like. I've been saying for a long time, and a lot of people have been disagreeing with me ever since I started saying this last summer, that I don't think Trump can win. I don't. I haven't thought it in a very long time. And I get that Biden's unpopular. I get that he's alienated a significant portion of his base. I get that he's 500 years old. And I get that he's not a great comedian. Honestly, like a whole bunch of strikes against him, outside of being the incumbent. That's a pretty big one. The rest of them are pretty, but he's running against Donald Trump. That's the thing. He's running against Donald Trump, and he's running against a Republican Party that overturned Roe v. Wade. And I can't imagine it. Like I've been of the opinion that Donald Trump won in 2016. That was a fluke. Like I will, to my dying day, I will say that was a fluke because he ran against Hillary. I think if he ran against Biden in 2016, Biden would have crushed him. And so
and Bernie would have swept the fucking floor with him.
Absolutely,
No,
absolutely. Like,
the only reason Trump ran in 2016 was because of 3 states that Hillary did not campaign in at all.
mhm,
That was it. It was Michigan, Minnesota, and
Pennsylvania.
Ohio. Pennsylvania. That's right.
Biden would
No,
have
not
definitely
Ohio.
won Pennsylvania. If anything,
Yeah.
he would have definitely won that. Yeah, it's true. So he won by tiny margins in 3 states against honestly the worst candidate the Democrats could have picked. So it tricked a lot of us, myself included. It tricked a lot of us into thinking that Trump was more popular than he actually was, and because Donald Trump supporter are the wildest, like loudest fans or whatever. Oh yeah, it was Wisconsin. Okay, Wisconsin. You said
Oh, I'm
Minnesota,
sorry.
but yeah, Wisconsin. Um, but like the loudest, most rabid fans imaginable. Like they wear fucking hats and t-shirts and flags and I have never seen anything like it. Like even back in the most enthusiastic Obama days, I never saw them act the way Trump supporters act. But I've always said that was a fluke. And he lost in 20. The Republicans lost 2018. They lost in 2020. They had the worst performance of any out of power party in 100 years in 2022. Democrats overperformed in polls nationwide in 2022 elections and the 2023 off-year elections by an average of like 8 or 9 points. So the best indication of future behavior is past behavior. Like I just don't see it going
Yeah.
well for Republicans. And another reason for this is American people, like American people are not the brightest. I'll be the first to admit that. But the fact that this guy is going to be on trial, on criminal charges for the entire year, I'm sorry, that doesn't look good. That's not going to
Multiple,
help you out. Like the American
multiple
people are not
trials.
going to be like, yeah, we definitely need to elect that guy. Yeah, the Republicans, sure, they'll cream their pants every time they see it, but your normie American voter is going to be a big fan of that. And I saw this video. This is actually from last week. I missed it. I didn't see it till this morning, but I wanted to share it because Trump is so great, man. He's so great. I don't know if you saw this. It's Trump complaining about the judge in the trial. Let's see, in the Stormy Daniels trial.
Informed that another corrupt New York judge, Juan Merchan, gagged me. That's gagged like you can't talk. But he gagged me with respect to a case that everyone, including the DA, felt should never have been brought. Plenty of people have gagged me recently because when I talk
Why
in
do you
New
keep
York,
saying it
I
like
explain to
that?
the people and they understand these cases are all rigged. It sounds fair, doesn't it, to be gagged, but it's not. It virtually never happens. It only happens to me because I'm able to tell people what's happening, and those people get extremely angry with what's happening. This judge should be recused, and the case should be thrown out. He's totally conflicted. There's never been a judge more conflicted than this one. There has virtually never been anything like it. Thank you very much.
Classic Trump.
So, classic Trump. I want to go after Trump. Like it's so common at this point that it's almost not worth bringing up. But his obsessive use of superlatives, like he cannot stop. This is the worst thing that has ever happened. This is the most corrupt person ever. No one has been treated. It's like, man, like how do you keep doing this? And it's Trump, so we're all used to it by now. But I don't know how you can keep saying this that no one has ever been treated more fairly than me. Like that just cracks me up. I love his use of superlatives.
I've been treated so badly. I've done nothing wrong. This judge is the worst judge to ever exist.
I did everything right, and they indicted me. And then of course, to what you mentioned, this is actually the most important part. Now, listen, I ain't no fancy big city lawyer, but I think that attacking the judge in your court case may be the worst thing you could possibly do.
Yeah.
And he always does it. He always does it. And he does it not only does it in court cases that involve him directly, which is like once again the last person on earth you want to talk shit about is the judge in your trial, but he does it to like court cases he loses. Like he brought forth 60 court cases for the 2020 election saying that there was voter fraud. Well, it's funny because like when they never actually said there was voter fraud in those trials, which is interesting. Like when Rudy Giuliani would go up there, he never claimed there was voter fraud. They would always dance around the actual term so they wouldn't commit perjury. They would say, we're worried about these irregularities. Like that's what they would say and everything like that. Trump lost, I think it was 59 out of 60 or 60 out of 61 of those cases. The only case he won was that there was some state where it required that like watchers, the people that watch the polls, had to be 20 feet away from the tables. And Trump argued it should be 10. And he got that, like a minor thing that didn't matter at all and anything. But all those judges were corrupt. All like like 6 judges over these cases. Every last one of them, some of them he appointed was corrupt. Every judge that is assigned to cover his trial is corrupt. It's like, I get why Trump would say something like that, but look, if you're a Trump supporter, you don't believe that. There's no way you believe every time he goes to court, he happens to be assigned to a corrupt judge. There's no chance.
Yeah, it's honestly just laughable. There's so many trials; it's hard to keep track.
It is.
This one's the hush money one, right?
Yeah, this is the hush, the least important one, honestly. The one I care the least
Same
about.
Here.
Yeah.
Same here. I'm waiting to see either the classified document case or the big kahuna. Did this guy commit straight up treason against America? That's the one I want to see before the elections actually happen. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to get that because of the way the time frame is. But still, just even these little civil trials are enough to really tarnish him in the polls. And I think that we probably mentioned this in a past episode, but I feel like the polls, even at this point in the game, Biden is going to improve.
Yep.
Trump has nowhere to go but down.
Yep.
Trump is is at his ceiling. People that like Trump are in for Trump, and he's not gaining anybody else.
Nope.
All he can do at this point is solidify that base and hopes that he gets very key districts, just like he won in 2016. Because there's no way in hell he's getting the majority of the vote.
No, it's true. Trump is in a difficult situation here because not only is he going to look worse and worse with the trials and everything, he's also going to open his fucking mouth. And people forget Trump was not a popular president. He never hit 50% in popularity with the American public. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah. Also, Trump's voting base is literally dying. Like literally, there will be fewer Trump supporters alive in November than now. Like 6 months from now, a lot of them are going to die. Which I mean, it's probably not going to be to the amount that it's going to be major, but it doesn't help Trump. It doesn't help him. And there's people who there are like a lot of times I say this a lot when we're talking about politics is that a lot of times we fall into the trap of getting into our bubble and assuming that people think like us, like people who are really politically active or people who are content creators or stuff like people who are, involved in local politics or stuff like that. People don't think like us. They don't. I wish they did. Trust me, I wish they did, but they do not. People pay attention to politics every now and again. It's like, oh, hey, it's August. I should see who's running. It's like that's how your average American is. And they're not going to vote even on the issues that seem like massive ones to us. So like the example I talk about this is Palestine. And so I run across people who will say that, I'm not going to vote for Biden because of his stance in Palestine. Hey, get it. I mean, if your line in the sand is I'm not going to support a candidate who's funding a genocide, more power to you. Like I don't begrudge anyone having that position. But and this is showing up with a lot of people who showed up with the uncommitted votes in Minnesota or New York, a place like that. And yeah, that doesn't help Biden. That certainly does bring him down a little bit. But I think we get carried away with those thoughts here because listen, the amount of people who are going to vote, like their primary issue is Palestine, is going to fucking pale in comparison to the abortion. Like 10-1 easily. And like your average normies who don't even know what's going on. They're like, oh yeah, I saw something in the news about some place called Gaza. Like you're some rube who's not paying attention to this. Like he's gonna read the paper and say, oh my God, my state lost the right to abortion. I have a 14-year-old daughter, and they'll go out and vote for that shit. So yeah, that's what's gonna drive voters. And so your average person is gonna be the one who swings elections, not your political ideologues. And your average person given a choice between Trump and Biden, that probably don't like either, they're going to go Biden. Your average normal person is going to go with Biden. And the polls, I hate to be a don't believe the polls guy because these people always bug me. I grew up always being upset because I used to be a conservative many years ago. And a lot of times I'd hear like Rush Limbaugh or something like, "Oh, I God, don't believe the polls. I know that John McCain is losing to Obama in the polls, but the polls are bullshit. The polls are media controlled narratives." Now, I'm not saying that the polls are deliberately false, but I am saying that polls over the years have become less and less reliable. I've realized over time for a lot of pretty obvious reasons. First is like they're relying on calling people's phones and you answering an unknown number or something like that, which I mean, only the most psychotic people in the country, the only people who are answering some unknown number. And also it's that's the other one I was going. Oh yeah, older people are going to be more likely to answer this stuff. And people who like Trump, you alluded to this, cannot wait to tell you how much they love Trump. They see a poll like, "Hey, you vote for Trump?" Hell yes, I'm doing it. You don't have that kind of enthusiasm for honestly any politician, but you don't have that. You certainly don't have it for Joe fucking Biden. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that right there.
Yeah. So just like I said I would, I remember what that video game was
What
that I
was
was
it?
talking about. It was Cyberpunk.
Oh, Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
Okay.
libertarians basically just want a cyberpunk reality.
They do. You ever hear that right wingers want a Star Wars reality and left wingers want a Star Trek reality? I always thought that was a great comparison.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
That's exactly what they want. And so, third, and most importantly about that video, how many times did he say the word gagged? How many times? He must have. That was like a 2-minute video, maybe. He said gagged like half a dozen times.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I think he's kind of into being gagged.
Yeah.
I think that's my.
And the judge, such a terrible man, he ordered me to wear a ball gag.
He actually said it sounds. He said like it sounds fun. It sounds good to be gagged, but it's not. I was like, no. What? Hold on. Let me play it again. I can't. He actually said that. Let me see. It's like halfway through. Hold on. It's worth hearing again. Hold on. And we're gonna count. I want to count the gags too.
Informed that another corrupt New York judge, Juan Mershon, gagged me. That's gagged like you can't talk. But he gagged me with respect to a case that everyone, including the DA, felt should never have been brought. Plenty of people have gagged me recently because when I talk in New York, I explain to the people and they understand these cases are all rigged. It sounds fair, doesn't it, to be gagged, but it's not. It virtually never happens. It only happens to me because I'm able to tell people what's happening, and those people get extremely angry with what's happening. This judge should be recused, and the case should be thrown out. He's totally conflicted. There's never been a judge more conflicted than this one. There has virtually never been anything like it. Thank you.
All right.
I got 5.
I was one off from half a dozen. 5 times he mentioned being gagged. He said, it sounds fair to be gagged, but it's not. It's not fair at all. Plenty of. Go ahead.
In what context does being gagged sound fair?
Yes. It's like, yeah, who does he think should be gagged? Like why is he like, yeah, I don't see a problem with this. It's like the only way being gagged sounds fair is like it's a consenting act that you're doing with another person, or you did something wrong and people need you to shut the fuck up. Like that's the only way it sounds fair. And he said, many people have gagged me many times. So okay, now I know. This is just something you're into, and this is like your. It's kind of like, so Wonder Woman. And in the Wonder Woman comics, or whatever, the way to take away Wonder Woman's powers is to like tie her hands together. Yeah. If you tie her hands together, she loses her powers, and that's because the guy who created Wonder Woman was like hardcore into BDSM. Like he was really into that shit, and so he had a wife and like a girlfriend. They lived together, and he had all this shit. So yeah, he slipped in his kink into the Wonder Woman comics, and I think Trump is slipping in his kink into his statements lambasting the judge. I thought that was some pretty funny shit.